By now I'm sure you've seen the video footage of a man with a meat cleaver standing on a London street corner. His hands are covered in blood, there's a body in the background, and he's being filmed by someone's cell phone camera. And as horrible as all that imagery is, there's one thing in that image that bothers me the most, and that's everybody else in that picture. You have people crossing the street, you have people that seem to be just going about their regular business, or they're just kind of huddled in the background just watching. And you find out after, you know, hearing some of the testimony from this particular case that it took a half hour for this situation to be resolved. There was a half hour between when the men started hacking this guy up, dragged his body out into the street, and then just sort of walked around until somebody dealt with it. To me, that is very bizarre, and I hope it strikes you the same way. But let's see what some other people had to say. I have little snippets from a report that came from WGN TV in Chicago, and we shouldn't be too surprised that they didn't ask some interesting questions that maybe some of us would have. So British Prime Minister David Cameron said, "We will never give in to terror or terrorism in any form." And I guess that's true, as long as passivity is a form of not giving in. I mean, I guess people could have been running around or running away, and instead they were just kind of standing there. He made sure in his speech that no one thought it had anything to do with Islam, despite the murderers actually invoking the name of Allah. So that's pretty brave right there. Now, he did bravely call the murder sickening. That's kind of going out on a limb there to say that this is bad. Now here's a good little clip from this report. Despite the savagery of the attack, eyewitnesses in Woolwich, a working class area with a multicultural community, appeared to stay calm in the moments immediately afterward, prompting London Mayor Boris Johnson to pay tribute to their exemplary courage and bravery. Yeah, okay. We'll just go on. Now, there was actually one brave person out of the whole bunch. You might hear a little bit about Ingrid Loyal Kennett, who got off a bus. Says that she was a Cub Scout leader too, and she went to actually see if the guy in the street was dead, and then at least talk to the murderers to try to get them to stop. So she's one out of all these people that did anything. And here's how everything followed up. Now, people were talking about the police responding quickly. They were very happy with how the police responded quickly. 30 minutes. It took 30 minutes from people noticing that this guy was being butchered and dragged out in the street, finished off there. Took 30 minutes for this thing to be resolved. And they said the police showed up quickly, but apparently they did nothing. And I guess in part that's because the police there aren't allowed to carry firearms. So they had to wait for a firearms unit to show up. And after a half hour, the two were shot and then dragged off to the hospital. And really, what does Boris Johnson have to complain about? Nothing. These people are model citizens under their model. And this is the exact same sort of model that people like Dianne Feinstein, Andrew Cuomo, Michael Bloomberg, Chuck Schumer, Biden and Obama, this is the kind of person that they want to turn us Americans into. This is how they want things to work. People that are incapable of making individual decisions, taking individual action. They don't want anybody with individual power. Everything comes from up top. It's all committee-based. It's all ministry of whatever. Just like in this instance, how they have to bring in a special firearms unit to deal with these guys because they can't even trust their own police officers to deal with the situation. And this is what I love about the spirit of the American West and how it's still alive in places like here in Oklahoma or up in Montana and Utah. You still have people that within their cultures and within their legal systems, they are encouraged to make individual decisions, to take individual action, to have individual power. And that is no better exemplified than with concealed carry, for example. I have my gun right here in my pocket. And that sort of thing is frightening to Dianne Feinstein and those others. But to me, it's all those people standing on the street in London watching a dude getting chopped up, doing nothing about it. That scares me more than anything else. Now, I realize that there's a big difference between thinking these things and, training, going to the range, and actually doing them. That takes a certain amount of bravery in that situation that, frankly, I don't know if I have. And I hope I never really have to find out in a desperate situation like that. But I'd like to hope that if something like this were going on around me, that I would be someone that could stand up and do something, make a difference, even if it doesn't change the outcome of, maybe, for example, the people on this street had all jumped up, they had mobbed these guys, and the dude on the street still dies. To me, it just feels morally better to do something about it, to take these guys out and not wait for somebody to come along and clean up this mess for us.